I'm Matt from ThirtyAndNerdy.com. So we got the new 3DS here, and I'm trying to think of where to begin with this tale. We got it early this morning. Set out to do an unboxing video, kind of coupled with a how-to video in regards to doing a system transfer to from one system to another. Keeping in mind that we were using 64 gigabyte memory cards, which aren't even officially supported with the hardware, like by Nintendo, and I thought that I was prepared. Like, not only had I, watched like the official video that Nintendo put out on how to do this, I found a bunch of articles online on like, what to format the card to and how to go through the process of like the formatting and things like that, and then just kind of like combining everything into one smooth process and whatnot. And prior to attempting to do this myself, I listen to like Nintendo podcasts and stuff like that, and some journalists and whatnot, like Brian and Jose and Pear over at like IGN and NVSC and stuff like that. Those guys were complaining about the process and saying that it was really, really tricky, not only getting into the system to access the micro SD card slot, which I actually didn't find that part to be that scary or that big of a problem, but they just said like overall the experience was very un-Nintendo. And I don't know, if you're unfamiliar with like Nintendo's hardware and the coupling of like the software and kind of like what the experience is, it's almost like every single second of everything that they do is kind of what's like a good word for it? It's without using the word to define the word Nintendo. It's just very, very efficient, very heartwarming, very smooth. Kind of like the first time people ever tried transferring data from like the Wii to the Wii U, and we're like, oh, it's taking forever. But like, look, like the little Pikmin are carrying like the blocks of data over from one system to another. Well, it turns out that the little Pikmin actually carried the data over from like the old 3DS to the new 3DS as well, and it's just like none of it matters because the whole process was completely unintuitive. Frustrating. It was scary. It was like and you'll see it in the footage that's going to accompany this video and whatnot. But we have the two systems open next to each other, and just like the way the wordings in the menus are laid out is really scary, and you're like clicking on like user agreements and stuff like that, which probably pertain to Nintendo not being responsible for like lost data and things like that. So between like user agreements, weird double negative sentences that they put together, like in regards to their like like if you're not using a micro SD card, press yes. Like weird things like that. Like and so not only did it take forever, granted I have like 29 gigabytes of data that I'm trying to transfer. I'm doing like the PC version of the transfer and stuff like that, but it's like after you get them set up and you've downloaded the system updates and and things like that, and you've initiated the process, you get to this point where it's using the internet 1 second to verify information, then it's connecting directly to the other 3DS to transfer information, and then after you're transferring information, it's saying like, okay, you're gonna plug the new card into the computer and erase everything you just did before you even transfer over the information. And long story short, like at the end of the process and the headache, like we were setting out to film a tutorial video, and we had to pause this video so many times, like pause the recording so many times in the process of doing this, that in the end we figured it was just better to, I don't know, create a video just kind of expressing that, like, if you had trouble with this, like, you are not alone. And for like Nintendo to ever like release this new piece of hardware with 3 different variations of the same or similar processes is like the only means of getting your information from one system to another, like it's not okay. And I have a feeling that one of the reasons why the process was as horrendous as this is because they're still not at a point with like Nintendo Network IDs and things like that where we have like a unified account for all of our purchases. Like there's no like imagine this. Imagine you have your Nintendo Network ID and it's kept track of all of your purchases, and that information is stored on their servers. So that no matter what system you're gaming on, whether it's your new 3DS, your old 3DS, your regular DS or your Wii U or your Wii, that network ID is tied to every single purchase that you've ever had. So you buy a new 3DS and you want to be able to play the games that you've purchased over the past 4, 3, 2.5 years, like on the new system. Like imagine just being able to tell the Nintendo Network, like, all right, my ID and all my games are going to be on here now, and I'm going to play them. And I understand that I'm not allowed to have both my games on both systems. And you press a button and it happens. Like, there has to be a way to reach that point where this makes sense and the transferring is easy and you're not going through 15 or 20 different steps to do it. And like what should have been a really fun experience, getting a new system and setting it up and getting games going on, like we bought Majora's Mask also today, I was really excited to play, should not take hours and hours and should not be terrifying every step of the way with like warnings about information being deleted and stuff like that. When the process was all said and done, like the screen itself didn't even go to like a home screen where it was like, boom, here's all your games. It was like the screen went to like a subfolder where my system settings were, and it didn't even look like any of the games had transferred over, and it was just Soon what do you, huh? It worked, yes. In the end it worked. It worked! And I did have moments of like a feeling of like triumph in the end, but continually throughout the process I just felt defeated, you know? It was just, like the point of getting this was not to feel defeated by it all the way up until the point where I realized, woohoo, like it worked, you know, like 2 hours wasn't down the drain. Like I was at the point where I was like, well, at least my Nintendo Network ID transferred over. I guess I can use my cloud backups, possibly in conjunction with the save files that we made a copy of on the computer, and then combine those efforts with like re-downloading all the games, and I can have my system back. It's like, no, like in the end it worked. But it was about the process, and the process is really, really cumbersome and really terrifying. And so, I don't know. Hopefully it gets better in the future. Like I haven't even got to really like play around with the system yet. You know, just it feels like the 3DS now. It's got extra buttons and stuff like that. The new stable 3D is really, really cool. I haven't even gotten to test it out with any games or anything like that because I'm just like looking at it and I'm just like I'm exhausted by it. I'm thankful that everything's there, but like I'm exhausted by it. Like I'm excited to like hop into Majora's Mask and try out the 3D on like, you know, some of the older games and stuff like that, and you know, see if you know, when I get around to downloading another title, if it really is faster and if the C-Stick's really cool and stuff like that. We'll have impressions on the website. I guess I just wanted to vent a little bit, you know, first world Nintendo problems, you know, woe is me, but like in between the steps, like when I was like revisiting the YouTube video Nintendo put out, visiting other YouTube videos other users had put out, looking at our Twitter feed and like the hashtag new 3DS feed, like in between all of this, and it was like, this is not an isolated event. So many people were saying like their saves didn't transfer over, their games didn't transfer over. You know, some people were saying neither one of those transferred over, and there were people who were just like thankful that like their Nintendo Network ID transferred over and that their system at the very least was able to, you know, communicate with like Nintendo servers and things like that, and you know, recognize the fact that like this is the new system that I'm gaming on, you know, like it's just a mess. I can't even imagine what like Nintendo's like customer, like how flooded their customer support like people are today with stuff like that. I just feel sorry for those guys at the same time. You know, they did it to themselves. You know, I guess if you're buying the system for the first time, you're like, woohoo, like new 3DS, and I want the big one, and it's gonna be my first time, you know, getting the system, and I'm gonna have a 32 gig card and like stuff like that. Like it'll probably be like an incredible experience for you, because like setting up the 3DS is always like really fun, and seeing the 3D for the first time. But yeah, not so great. hopefully it's fun to play. You know, like I love Nintendo, and you know, like the 3DS XL that I've had for like 2.5 years or something like that now has been like an incredible piece of hardware to own and play games on. So I'm excited. I'm excited to fall in love with this. So that's what the experience was like. So we'll see you again. Again, Matt for ThirtyAndNerdy.com. You can go to ThirtyAndNerdy.com. We got a YouTube channel on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at 30andnerdy. And go play some Majora's Mask in 3D.